Hey, look, I know I said it at the start of last video, but with the reception has been so good, I thought I'd mention this again today. If you play Mordhau, make sure you click the link in the description, come on my Discord, there's all the rules there, you'll see the Yorkshire information page, you can join our Steam group, come on us, we've got like 200 people in it at the moment, we do massive battles, big trainings, events with people, and yeah, it's so much fun, so come and join it if you can. Blackwake didn't die, it was murdered. What a fucking nugget. On the 24th of February 2017, Blackwake was released on PC. It was previously a fairly successful Kickstarter, and early versions of its gameplay released by people such as Frankie on PC, the famous dead guy, and had some great backing and support behind it. Only less than 2 years later, I mean the game's a little bit dead. With so little player base getting to it, games almost seem impossible to get in most of the time. But why is this? Why has the player base suffered, and why has it dwindled so much? But more importantly, why did Blackwake die? If I'm going to be honest, the game is fantastic. The idea, the concept, and even the execution. And with some exceptions, the game is a great all-round fun experience. Inspired by pirate adventures, it's the player's job to navigate the seas with their ship and crew, taking objectives and destroying enemy ships. I mean, who doesn't want to be Jack Sparrow? That was always a childhood dream of me. Going in, raping, oh wait, is that from the, at least the Curse of the Black Pearl Jack, and World's End Jack can sort of fuck off. But sailing the high seas, robbing and boarding enemies, that is what every kid wants to do. Loading cannons, barking orders over the sound of musket fire of dying white people all around you. Climbing the rigging to get a better look and being a massive target for enemy gunshot. Or just going for the rigging and falling off into the water because of finger spasms on the keyboard. I think that's actually probably just me. But the idea in general of the Black Flag style ship gameplay is great, but it takes it into first person, and making it only multiplayer was what made it unique. Never really having a game that took this into multiplayer setting yet, because of course we have other games such as Black Flag, but that was a single player only experience. Yet, while being one of its selling points, being multiplayer only seems to also be one of its biggest downfalls. You see, having a multiplayer only game comes with its stigmas. The normal correlation is content changes, increased player growth. I mean, that's why Fortnite... screw you. So when publishing a multiplayer only game, this needs to be the main focus. Games such as PUBG and the aforementioned Fortnite have been able to keep a massive player base because of the constant stream of content coming out. It's a trend in the modern day. People have a lower attention span, and it's just facts. It's just facts recorded by statistics. People want quick, easy material to keep them interested, and this is why long let's play and longer form content on YouTube fail alongside these quick, easy, digestible videos. And it's the same with games. The way more when it comes to multiplayer only though. But whilst updates on Blackwake were frequent, a lot of them were bug fixes and making sure the game flowed well, which yes is important, but of course with any game, whilst bugs were rampant to start with, they were mostly all soon fixed, and the game is actually rather polished at this point. But there just isn't enough in it. To start with, having a crew and boats were great. Having someone as a captain to order seamen around. It was pretty immersive, bombing the enemy out and then going in close and trying to board them. But soon, like many multiplayer games like this, it got a little bit repetitive. The same game every single time you played with. Yes, some little variations, but not enough to keep the player on for more than a few hours at a time. Later in 2018, a big update was released though, adding in land, combat and new game modes, bringing something new and pretty fresh to the game. Granted, this did boost the player base for some time, yet the same thing ended up happening. People played the game a few times, but soon fell bored of even these new game modes, and the player base, once again, dropped off. But what is something that tries to keep people in games? Well, let's look at a game like Mount & Blade, which is very relatable to this channel. Most people watching this probably also play Mount & Blade. Mount & Blade, whilst having a single player option, did have multiplayer, but it also had these communities. Blackwake didn't, and I feel like if you're making a multiplayer only game, you need to have some sort of thing that you can get communities latched on. Mount & Blade had line battles and sieges. Blackwake had not really much there, if I'm going to be completely honest. The next one is modding. The game itself had no room for modding, which yes could have been its saving grace as it has been for a lot of games in the past. Taking the base concept and running with it on a different setting, adding new game modes and aspects to the game. But even so, modding will most likely only give the game more time and still not bring it back to its full glory. But what about a single player? Well, looking at how the game actually plays out, I feel like they put themselves in a little bit of corner when it comes to playability. Yes, it does what it does great, but there isn't anything in this game that you could complete with single player aspects in it. Taking that and making it bigger and more addictive game is just not something that seems plausible. There's no room here for a single player in Blackwake. If you have any idea how that could work in a game like this, please leave a comment, because I just can't think of any way implemented single player would work in this. And out of all the things, that seems like that's the most thing that could keep people going back to the game. But of course, when Blackwake first came out, I played it quite a lot. I had quite a lot of fun. I've done a couple of videos on it in the past, some successful, some less so. But I ended up doing something terrible when I look back at the game today. I read some reviews, and whilst yes, the game used to be positively rated on Steam, it's gone down to mixed now. And most of the reviews are talking about the same thing. Repetitive, repetitive, repetitive. Yes, even the reviews for the game are repetitive, ironically, saying very similar issues in all of them. Not having all that much to do after playing for an hour or so. The same gameplay over and over again. Not enough content to bring it out of this ditch, and even a number of comments calling out the developers on banning and ignoring criticism towards the game. Now, I can't state anything if I know that's true, but it all works into it. It all works why the gameplay and the player base has dropped off. But looking into the future for this game, unfortunately it doesn't look bright, and yes, I wish it did, because I think this has a lot of potential, this game, and it shows to how successful it was at the beginning. The developers have said, of course, they're trying not to let the game die. And yes, I have sympathy for that, but it doesn't look like, from my point of view, that there's anything that could really keep it going. They're keeping it updated and active, but I feel like it's already past its threshold. But is there any room for a revival at this point? I feel like the gameplay style just doesn't lend itself to longevity of the future, unless something big like modding capabilities or some sort of co-op mode against bots, or even a wider, bigger, more open map that introduces more PvE elements. That could release it from its rather tropey, repetitive gameplay. It is the perfect example of doing something pretty small but nailing it. And while this is perfect for a fun game, and as we've seen in the past, this is great for mods of other games, it works well for mates to team up for a short while, but there isn't anything to keep players in for hours at a time, which at the end of the day is what you need with a game. But what do you guys think? Will this game ever get back on its feet, but is it just too little, too late? I've had a lot of fun actually researching Blackwake and going in and trying playing it again. Unfortunately, there hasn't been a lot of people that I can play with, so it's been rather limited. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And once again, if you want to join the Mordhau clan, make sure you follow the instructions in the description. And if you don't have Mordhau already, it's a bloody incredible game. I definitely recommend you get it, and it's pretty cheap at the moment. It's like 20 quid. So thank you so much for watching, and until then guys, I will see you in the next one.